We're almost at the end of the 4:15.
4:15, at the end of 4:15?
No, we didn't finish the Ois. We're still before Zion. So now it's being masbid the Aved of Tamosi. Tamosi means you complete me. The Maisi Adecha Tichsep, the Eibush longs for the Maise, for the action of a year. Let's do that again. V'hainu, fourth line now. Shedekol is Aved the Beifin Shina Mesidus Nefesh Chayde. So summary of Hal Aved, beginning with the Pischoli, which starts with the Nekud, the Mesidus Nefesh, that it named Durch pierces. So through that, so then begins that opens up the Sanya da Achisi. That's the Aved of Achisi, which explains Shezah Avedish Mitzadkech Zanevesh Midid of Akbola. That's serving the Eibishter with the conscious faculties. Chayder and that Nekuda, as we said yesterday, the point is that you can have the Aved of Achisi without Mesidus Nefesh. Adarab, the Aved of Achisi is the Aved of his own, so he understands, he feels, etc., and he connects to the level of Alikus Nefesh Abamis as a shaykhis to, and with desire and want, as he was Masbir Barichus. But the Chiddush here is that it all begins with the Nekuda of Pischoli. So it's Aved of Mesidus Nefesh. In simple words, it means that why should there be the Aved of Achesi? Not that he needs it. The Eibishter wants it. That itself is Bechinas Bittul. And likewise, all the levels that he attains, they're all worked on and acquired and toiled in, because that's the Ratzon Elyon. And likewise, the next Aved of Rayos, it's Mamshech HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world, which you conclude which is Aved of Torah, that's the Aved of Torah. And then the Aved, it's all part of Rayosi. That's the Aved of the faculties of the Nefesh higher than conscious Islapshus. Then what is explained in the previous ayah to the Aved of Yinosi, Achmagi Lagam Chinas Yinosi, showing in Istaklis Hayesach Hazaka that Yinosi means this very deep gaze, this very deep look. As explained yesterday, is the Stakola Bikod de Malka. This is higher even than the Rotzen of the Melech, even the Seichel of the Melech, the Melech himself, as it were. But even this Aved, as he looks at the Melech in a state of complete bittul, it's still not the Aved of Tamosi. Tamosi, that is, the Melech says, come on this side and partner with me.
Or bring David down here.
That was all the Avedas did that.
But here, Shepel Shlem is with
But Yossi is also Mamshech Kadosh Baruch in Welt. And even Achaysi is Memala Kalam, is Mamshech Alikus in Welt. Here the Nekudis come on this side, not stand and look. What does that mean? Shepel Shleim is V'tachlis Ratzon Elyon, that in the Ratzon Elyon is Dargis and Dargis, and here is the Kavana Atzmi. Least like Yisbarach did B'tachtonim, they wish to wants not only that the world should be enhanced with Elikus, Malak Kalam and Sevev Kalam and all the Dargis he spoke up until now, and even the Aved of Tainug, but they wish to wants that the world should be dir b'tachtonim, that Atzah should be in his Gala Lamata. And that's the ultimate Aved of Tamosi. And this, paradoxically, is connected to as the very beginning of the Aved. Because that's the Maisa B'Peil. Vinyan Zeh is the Tamosi, and this scene of Tamosi complete. My Kavanah till now was all about levels of Ishtalshalas, Haydin Ishtalshalas, but still didn't lay bare Kavanas Atzmos. Kavanas Atzmos is Dafke Dire B'tachtonim. So this, the Shlemis of Tamosi, Koshir, Mascholas Aveda, this is connected to the beginning of Aveda, the Pischali, Kechodesh HaMachad. Open to me, even like the point of the needle, Shema Yosi, the Mata, even though this is the first level, as we said, the Pischali is a Mesidus Nefesh in a certain one area of Aveda, of Pel Mamash. Nonetheless, even though in terms of consciousness, it's simply Kabbalah oil. It's before any levels of Achaisi, which engages Seichel and Midas and so on. As a discussion, nonetheless, this Ascholas Havada, the Kabbalah oil, connects, and that's the thread in Tachlis Alida B'chinas Tamosi, with the ultimate of Tamosi, which is complete me, my desire, my need Kavayachal, which is Dira B'tachtonim. Kiddush b'chinas gavay miskashem b'chinas matamatas. It's known that the highest levels are found and connected in, as it were, the lowest. So the avodah b'peil mamish and the simple Mesiras Nefesh, uninspired. The first avodah, there's no inspiration at all, no isbonenus, nefesh habahamis is not engaged. It's simply Mesiras Nefesh, a bittul. So that is connected to the ultimate avodah of tamasi. But the shleimus is you have to have all of the avodas in between. Why? 1 second. Because what do you need the middle avodas for? If it's the unit is Moishe b'peil, and if that's already affected through the avodah of kechudesh machat, so right there you have already the connection to Atzmos and the betachtonim through Moishe. All of the other levels are necessary because as we learn that there's be a lichtige dire. It's not just the kavanah is not merely that Atzmos should be in his gala lamata, but with all of the giluyim should also be in his gala lamata. That's in the Nekud of Purim. That even though Haman, one of the Nekudas of Purim, if not the Nekudah, Haman's thinking was he wanted to reach the level of Geirel. Chassidus asked the question, why is it called Purim? Number one, it's a detail in the story that's entirely irrelevant. What difference does it make? How he arrived at the day to destroy the Yidden? He arrived at Geirel or some other day, his wife's birthday. What's the difference? Number two, it takes us back to the dark part of the story. Number three, it's Persian, not Hebrew. So this is Masbir that Geirel is a level where everything is equal. That was the whole point of Haman, that the darga of true save of Kalalmin. Amit the singing of Ein Sof, everything is Bishava. So that level, he's saying, Eibishter, not only don't mix in, you can't mix in. Not only you don't care, you can't care. Because Eibish is totally beyond, so what difference does it make whether I hang or Mordechai hangs or nobody does or the whole world goes up in smoke, for that matter? Yes, I'll go to Gehenna. There's a whole Bezdin Shaman, there's a whole Seder Ishtalshalus, and there's a huge difference as far as that's concerned. But Ishtalshalus is a mask on you. You are totally higher than the whole Inyan. And that's the level of Dafkim, it's the level of Geirel, where everything is Bishova, because the Geirel treats everything equally. That's where he wanted to reach in his mind on Mitis Inyan of Elikus. And from there he can do as he wishes, because again you cannot care. So that's why it's called Purim and Dafka Purim Lashon Parsi, because at that level Lashon Hakodesh and Parsi everything's Haloi Och Eis of the Yaakov, everything's B'Shav. So now the kasha is that since Purim was this Gala Atzmos, so it comes out that what's the whole Haman was wrong. He pegged God at the infinite wrong. The Eibush is higher than infinite. The Eibush can choose to need Tamosi. The Eibush needs in Moishe Decha Tichsoif, and the Eibush, even though Haloi Och Eis of the Yaakov, nonetheless the pasuk concludes it's Yaakov Ahavti Ves Eis of Sanesi. So now the kasha is still, why is it called Purim? Because since Purim, the kasha is not asked outright, but it's mavur in the famous Purim. Tavshin Yud Gimel. The Rebbe said to my Modim, I think both of them were good, and that was when he brought down Stalin. So, and then there the beer comes out. So after the whole Nekudah, that Eibush is higher than Geirel Ein Sof, and that it's not that everything is equal. It is true, but nonetheless he chose Tzapchidas Ha'atzmos, the union of Neshamas Yisrael, and did it b'tachtonim. So again, Purim is the wrong name, because Purim goes on the level of Geirel. It should be named that brings out Atzmos, whatever that term would be. So the answer is that Adarabah, the biggest chiddush is that once Atzmos is Boicher, then even the level of Geirel Ein Sof is invested with the Bechira. Which means, what does it mean in simple language? It means that once the Eibish's Beicher and the Yid invested in the Eibish's Bechira is all of his Giloyim, so you have also the mile of Bligvul on the Ein Sof, which is actually manifest in the fact that Yidden are eternal in other areas. That too is invested in the Yid. And that's the Chiddush, that even though Geirel Masad Atzmai, but it's equal, no. Even the level of Geirel, Ein Sof looks at a Jew and says, that's Ein Sof, that's me, not Haman. That's the Chiddush. Now, what's the point of that? It's not like a little so it's in other words, it's not simply that because Atzmos is Beicher, so with his Bechira, he chooses, the Eibush chooses with all of his manifestations. So everything's in the Yid, Ein Sof, and the Ishtal Shalos, every Mila is in the Jew. The root of all that is that the Kavanah is in Dire B'Tachtonim, there should be a luminous Dire. The words that are lichtike Dire. It's not just enough the Maisa B'Peil. The Maisa B'Peil should elevate all of Ishtalshus, that Ishtalshus in every darga that exists, every virtue that exists, should look at the Yid's Maisa and say, this is a likus, this is it, this is Shleimus. So in the end it comes out that the true Chiddush is Dafkin Girdle, that the Ata Toimich, you support my girdle, that the girdle, as it were, itself is invested Dafkin the Yid. All to say here too that the avoid starts of Taka the Maisa B'Peil, because the Kavara did B'Tachtonim, and that's only Dafka Lamata, and Atzmus is Dafka Lamata, the Maisa that the Tichsev. But what does the Eibishter want? That in the Mata should be all the Giluyim, all the Ishtalshula should find its justification. All of Ishtalshula should realize that its whole justification, and all of its milas of Giluyim and Oir, and Tainug, and all of the Inyanim we described till now, Achaysi, Rayosi, Yenosi, it's all why? Because the Eibush was Boich and the Yid. So these avodas are necessary. It's all part of the shleimus of the kavan of Dire B'Tachtonim. In other words, the fusion of the Dir Hashish and the Dir Hashvi, as the Rebbe speaks in the Maimon. The mile of avodah and giluyim and all of the miles that were developed in all of the previous Diras, that's not, okay, done with them, move on. It's all of that is invested in the Dir Hashvi. I think I told you the story. It's a beautiful story. I'll repeat it again. I told it in South Africa. Kesselman was there because it's with his aid, famous mashpia in the Kvar Chabad, Shlomo Chaim Kesselman. So the story is like this. There was a big chassid. Some of you may have seen him. You probably saw him. He was one of the most enigmatic chassidim of our generation. He was a short man and didn't have a neck because he was a partisan. Apparently he was shot. That's the legend. Probably true. He was shot and whatever in the neck, so some kind of upper. He lost some bone there. Anyway, he's one of the Rebbe's greatest chassidim. For all people looked at him as a kind of a simple fellow. He was very far from that. Just to give you an idea that Label Kaplan, the Rebbe's hand-picked shliach, which didn't happen since the early years. Zalman's father, the Rebbe instructed him in all matters to consult with Reb Zusha. Called Reb Zusha, Vilamovsky, Reb Zusha Partizan. If you look at the Fabrengens on the videos, there's a fellow behind the Rebbe conducting. In the early years, it was Reb Hendel Lieberman, but not so many movies of that because that's the early years. But the later years, it was Reb Zusha. And Reb Zusha was a person who never saw sleep. He slept 3 hours. And he said a soldier on the front doesn't sleep more than 3 hours. His whole language was always the Rebbe's the Melech, the Kaiser, military language. He was a soldier of the Rebbe, and he lived that way.
And he died that
And he died that way. He died Cholamayt Sukkos in the Sukkah, because that was his Sukkos. He was standing there and making the Simcha the whole time Sukkos. He was the Rebbe's eyes and ears. He reported on everything that happened in Eretz Yisrael, everywhere, traveled constantly. And one of the people close to him was a Mendel Glukowski, the shliach in Rehovot, the Toronto boy. One of the shluchim that Rebbe sent these waves of shluchim in the late Lamets. He was close to him, and in fact, he wrote a beautiful collection of stories, which is how I know the story, in connection with one of his kids' weddings. So he tells the following story: that Zusha told him. Tell you 2 stories. Zusha told him that he was describing him was mafli the Fabrengens of Shlomo Chaim. Shlomo Chaim's Fabrengens were legendary. Shlomo Chaim he was makar of a lot of snagdish bochrim to Chassidus. Some of them today Zosh Yeshivas and Mashbiim and great shluchim in the 60s and 70s. And it wasn't they become Yitiskista. I mean, for a bacher to come was Mesiras Nefesh, but a bacher that was searching for something deeper. Many of them found their way to Kvar Chabad and would come there and sneak back, not to be known, and we became Chassidim through his Fabrengen. As a whole, I think 2 volumes, at least one thick volume. I think it's 2 volumes on Rav Shlomo Chaim, his teachings, his Fabrengen, etc. So Zusha said that the Fabrengens are wonderful. He said, I used to come to the Fabrengen and sit in the corner of the Zal, and I didn't listen to the Fabrengen. He said, what were you doing? He said, Mendel, I was sitting and thinking, Vitze Fabreten the Melucha. The Melech's Melucha, the case's Melucha. I had to broaden the king's the kingdom, how to broaden the Rebbe's work, influence and effect in that Yisrael, to expand the kingdom. So Mendel said to him, so Zusha, you didn't have to go to the Fabrengen, you could sit home. You didn't live in Kvachabad. You could sit home and think how to plan, scheming, how to broaden the Rebbe's, the Commonwealth, the Rebbe's kingdom. Why are you coming to sitting by the Fabrengen? It's a beautiful story that says everything. He says to him, I Mendel, was verstehst du nicht? What don't you understand? Am sitzt in der Zwiebel, you sit in an environment, from Beret Ave ve Yire tracht zu Gott anders. If you sit in an environment where they speak love of God and awe of God, so it thinks completely different. This is really the Nekudah of the Rashish and the Rashvi, fusing the Chaysi, the Yossi, all the Medarges, but it's all based on the Chodesh HaMachat. That in order to carry out the Aved, the Pasha Shlichus Kipshuta, that each one on their own level, Maisa B'Poel, it's not just enough the Maisa, but the Maisa itself has to be permeated with Eir, with all of the Hayu Yonim, because that's the Shlemus of Dira B'Tachtonim. And that story expresses it so exquisitely. Sitting in this environment, we speak Ava V'Yira, to think of how to expand the Rebbe's Melucha in Maisa B'Poel, it's a whole different thinking, whole different plans and schemes. Another cute, beautiful story with him. When he would come to him, the Bezushi would ask for ice cream. So I remember sometime he would travel, first of all, visiting places. He would say Mashpia. That's why he was so close to him. He asked him, he has some beautiful answers from him. He asked for ice cream. It's a little strange. Bezushi asking for ice cream until later. He told him once he has terrible toothache, terrible pain, constant. And the eyes, which begs the question to go to a dentist because he didn't have time to go to the dentist, whatever it was. But so ice cream. And then he said to him with a twinkle in his eye, there's a chassid sitting eating ice cream. He said, Al Rebbe wrote Tanya. So the ice cream came before the Eibush and said, no one's going to eat me anymore. Skafia and all the things, Chassidus. So the Al Rebbe says to him, don't worry. It'll come the Der Hashvi, and the Der Hashvi will elevate the ice cream. That's the Nekudah. The Nekudah is that, actually I'll express it this way, there was the famous... He was a Satmar, a Chassid connected to the Kat and became a Lubavitch. He was a translator in the UN, translated the Tanya, genius, brilliant man, tremendous correspondence with the Rebbe. People listening will know the story, who he is. He'll come to me. So he once asked the Rebbe that it seems the Rebbe changed Lubavitch. Huh? Yeah, Uriel Zimmer. The Rebbe changed Lubavitch. The Lubavitch that he knows and all that he's learning, he was a genius and learned the much Chassidus. The Rashishi was a whole different. The new Chassid is a different kind of Chassid. He's savvy, he's out in the world. It's not the language and the Kishum Shalamita for hours and the Skafia. It's a new Lubavitch. So the Rebbe said to him as follows, that after 6 generations, Chassidus explaining the bittul of the world, now we're ready to use it in Kedusha. In other words, through the Avodah Viskafia, then Yisabchas. Bechlal, our Avodah is Avodah Yisabchas. It doesn't come in a vacuum. It comes as a result, Dafka of, which we need to learn Chassidus and connect it to the whole limud, the whole learning and understanding, and that Welt is nothing. So now you can take this nothing and make it everything by using it in Kedusha. But if you're impressed with it, you're part of the problem. You can engage it and use it and elevate it. Okay, so you're not born with all of these levels. You got to work at it, but it's each one of their level. It's incumbent to daven when a person can daven, Shabbos, other opportunities. Iskafi, as I said, the Iskafi today doesn't mean not to eat. Iskafi means not to be fussy about eating. It means complimenting your wife. It means having a good meal and sharing it with others. That's all Iskafi. It's all using it, eating it, engaging it, and that's the Avodah. All to say over here that all these Avodas of Achaisi v'chulu are all critical to the completion of the bottom line, which is Maisa B'Poel and Kechodesh Machat Mesiras Nefesh. Get what's done no matter what the price. Let's conclude. So this is the Avodah of Tamosi. The Eibishter says, you complete me. V'zeru concludes, Shetachlis Arotz Elyon. I see that the Tachlis Arotz in the Elyon. The ultimate is in this Ave. I see you when I say something before. Maisa Godel is referring to what, friends? The Mori Kedusha, the whole debate whether Talmud Godel, Meiser Godel, and the end is that Godel, Talmud, Shemevil, the Meiser, and Chassidus says that whole debate is now in present times, but Lasid Lovoi all appreciate Meiser Godel. That the ultimate is the Meiser itself. But when Agashim Shnikar Olam Masih, which is God the Olam Masih, Shedafke Boy in Idea Avodah Diskafi Sitracha Visapche Sitracha. It's Dafke here to the Avodah first of Iskafi and then Isapche that Nasla Yisborach did it betachtonim. I remember as a child, as an early teen, some Fabrengens, like landmark formative Fabrengens, was a Fabrengen Chaim Serbransky. Chaim Serbransky was the son of Reb Zalman, the Shliach to Melbourne, to Australia. And Chaim was a very Chassidish Yid, person that davened every Shabbos for many hours. To give an idea of who he was, his business in those days was he sold confectionery. His whole business was a little truck, a little van. They went around to called the milk bars. Today here you call them convenience stores, whatever, milk bars. Dépanneurs. And that's why I realized as a child, in my class and all the classes, many of the kids, parents were Holocaust survivors in those days, we're talking the 60s, but their parents owned milk bars. So straight disproportionate because of Chaim, when he would sell the chocolates and this thing, he would talk to the parents about sending the kids to the yeshiva. The Lubavitch yeshiva in those days, in my class, it was 20% from, 80% not from, and Lubavitch, if I was Lubavitch, it was one. That's how it was. The whole point was that it's community school, transformed the whole Australia. Anyway, and Chaim was a big part of that. So one Shabbos, his thing was stolen. His whole panas gone. His little truck. My father told us, I was too young to know that they told Chaim it was stolen. Made like this. Continued davening, ba'avodah, every Shabbos he verbringt. He made kiddush mashke every Shabbos. Koloi hoya, the Eibishter will help. And so the end was, because he lost his milk bar thing, just quickly the story. So we have to tell stories. Yeah? So he was forced to go into another business. He thought of this idea to import. There was no wine in Australia, no kosher wine. I remember my grandparents making wine. To get a license to import Kedem wine. So just briefly the story. So to get the license, you have to go before a judge. You have to establish business acumen and need for it and honesty. So my father was there, Chaim's good friend, to testify that he's a business acumen. He's not going to run it into the ground. They don't want to give licenses like this, whatever the cheshbon was. Then there were rabbis there, friends, Lubavitchers, that will testify that he was honest. And then the need, I guess my father also testified that there was a need in the community. So everybody says their thing, they have to swear. No one's going to swear. Moishe Cantor had a bookstore. They swore on a Jewish book, not on the Bible, not on the Chumash book. Comes Chaim, calls him up to swear. She's not swearing. The judge says, "Excuse me." She says, "I'm not swearing." What do you not swearing? The rabbis, they swore. I don't know. So swearing is in broken English. A Jew doesn't swear. If you give me the license, says to the judge, good. And if not, God will provide. The judge bangs on the table. Early adjournment. What's it called? Recess. To a juror. No, isn't it a juror? That's somewhere. Anyway, my father says Chaim, he had then like 8 kids, all under the age of 10. Sleeping he opened a drawer. There was a kid sleeping there. He lived in an apartment. There was 2 bedrooms next door to the yeshiva. Chaim, there's nothing up he did. He says, what do you he says, I need Chaim go, it's okay. Anyway, they're furious. And they're upset for him. He's going to lose this opportunity. After the recess, the judge calls him to the front. He says, my dear friend, if you can stand before me and say, because of your conviction, and explain it doesn't invoke God's name in any way, to swear, I don't need you to swear. And moreover, you asking for a license for Kedem, you have a license to bring in any liquor. Goodbye, adjourned. And he went very quick, became very big. He didn't change his lifestyle, gave huge tzedakah. The end wasn't so sweet. Anyway, so the story I wanted to tell you, so the Chaim was this big, he was a symbol, a flaming red beard. We looked at him with in reverence and awe and love. So this classic Fabrengen, in his house. This is after he moved from that little apartment in an apartment building, the house, benches. He was verbringing, I don't know what, tefillah, probably. And then there was Rabbi Glick. He just come. He was just still a young man, sitting there quietly. And then at some point, I guess he said a lot of l'chaim, with all due respect, Asiyah Leila. This is in the early 70s. That Avodah today, you had to do that. First you had to stress the Asiyah Leila, the Peil Mamish, and then of course it's the fusion of the two. But this was big, the transition of the Rashisha, the Rashvi was not so simple, that this had to be broken through. Instead of sitting by Avodah for 10 hours, going to invite the Jew next door to your home. Not that this is not, but this is not an easy transition. So it was a critical thing that this young man was silent in the room. And we respected Avram Glick, was also a big ovid and a masculine and a Balnigla and all the milas. He spoke about, he listened. But this young fella, with all due respect, this is the Rashvi and Asiyah Le'ela, and that's where the emphasis has to be. Glick is saying this and Chaim. Okay, so we'll conclude with a NIGGUN. Because I wanted a NIGGUN story with. Actually, I wanted to tell you another story. Maybe know this NIGGUN. It's a Zeh Gishmak and NIGGUN. I think it goes back to the. If I'm not mistaken, it goes back to the Chassidut Tzemach Tzedek. Tedidayin la da 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 yinadam, oy la da da boy yinadam, oy la da dam, oy la da dam, oy la da la da la dam, oy la da dam bam bam bam, oy la da dam oy la dam, oy la da dam, ti la da da dam oy la dam. Tididai la dai la dai la dai la dam, tadidim bayinam, tididim bay la da dam, ay da dai la dam, tididai la dai la dai la dai la dai, tadidim bayinam, tididim ay la da dam bayidam, ay la dam, third part, tididai la da da dam, ay la da da dam. Ti la da 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 dam, oh ya dam, oh ya vei, ti di dim, oh la da dam, oh ya dam, oh la dam, ti di da la da da dam, oh la da da dam, oh la di da da dam, oh ya dam, oh ya da, ti di dim, oh da 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 dam, nachamol. It induces a lot of reflection. Tididai la da da moy la da, ay la da da moy la da, ay la da da, ay la da da, ti la da 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 moy la da nachamo, ay la da da moy la da, ay la da da moy la da, ay la da da, ay la da da, ay la da 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 moy la da. Tididai la dai la dai la dai la dai, tadidim boy vei, tididim boy la da dam bay da, ay la dam. Tididai la dai la dai la da dam, ay la da dam, ay vei, tididim boy la da dam, ay dam, ay la dam. Peil Mamish now, tididai la da da da. Ay la da da da, ti la da 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 dam, oh ya dam, ay vei ti di dim, ay la da dam, ay dam, ay la dam, ti di ay la da da dam, ay la da da dam, ay la da da da, oh ya dam, ay vei ti di dim, ay ta di dim, one more time. Tididai la da 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 da, ay la da da ay la da, ay la da da, ay la da da, ti da 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 di di ay la da, ay la da da ay la da, ay la da da ay la da, ay la da da, ti la da da, ti la da da ay la da. Tididai la dai la dai la didim, ay la da dam, ay vei, tididim, ay la da dam, tidam, ay la dam, Tididay la day la day la day la day. Tadidim bay bay. Tididim bay la didim bay dam. Tidadam. Tidiyay la da da dam. Tilo da da dam. Tilo da 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 dam. Boyadam. My way tididim bay. Tadidim bay dam. Ay la dam. Tididay la da da dam. Tilo da da dam. Ta-di-di-di-dim, oh yeah, dum. Ti-da-la-da-da-dum, ta-di-da-dum. Veilig en podium. En met een veilig en podium.